Electric snowmobiles looked like the next big thing. Imagine ripping through fresh powder without waking up half the neighborhood. No fumes, no engine noise, just pure, eco-friendly adrenaline. Sounds amazing, right? Well, reality had other plans. As electric cars took over the roads, it seemed inevitable that snowmobiles would follow suit. Companies like Taiga Motors led the charge, promising high-performance electric sleds that could outrun their gas-powered counterparts. Instant torque, zero emissions, and barely any maintenance? It sounded too good to be true. And for a moment, it looked like it might actually happen. National parks, ski resorts, and remote communities saw electric snowmobiles as the perfect solution. A way to cut down on noise and pollution without sacrificing performance. Regulators loved them. Environmentalists cheered them on. Even die-hard snowmobilers started paying attention. But then, reality hit like a blizzard. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers. Do you enjoy the video? Your support means the world to us. Help us grow and hit that subscribe button. Despite the hype, electric snowmobiles never became the industry-shattering revolution many expected. Why? Because snowmobiles aren't just toys, they're survival machines. And when you're battling extreme cold, deep snow, and long distances, batteries don't always play nice. Suddenly, all those promises had asterisks. Range anxiety, high costs, brutal winter conditions, and infrastructure challenges turned electric sleds from a game-changer into a tough sell. Even the biggest names in the industry struggled to bring their models to market, and those that did found themselves facing serious financial troubles. So, what went wrong? Why didn't electric snowmobiles take over like we all expected? And is there still a future for them in the snow? In this video, we'll break down their rise, their struggles, and whether they still have a shot at making a comeback. Hit that subscribe button and let's dive in. The idea of an electric snowmobile wasn't just a wild fantasy. It felt like the next evolution of winter sports. With battery technology advancing and electric vehicles becoming the norm, it was only a matter of time before snowmobiles followed suit. The appeal was obvious. Instant torque, near-silent rides, and zero emissions. For outdoor enthusiasts and environmentalists, this had the potential to change everything. One of the first companies to take on this challenge was Taiga Motors, a Canadian startup that introduced its electric snowmobile prototype in the late 2010s. Their model, the TS2, promised gas-powered performance with blazing speed and acceleration. The range was respectable for an early electric sled, and the idea of never dealing with fuel, oil changes, or engine maintenance was a huge draw. Other companies quickly took notice. Major manufacturers like BRP, the maker of Ski-Doo, hinted at future electric models, and governments started exploring bans on gas-powered snowmobiles in national parks and ski resorts. The momentum was there, pre-orders were rolling in, media buzz was strong, and for a moment, it looked like electric snowmobiles were about to take over. But then, reality kicked in. The excitement was real, but so were the challenges. What looked great on paper quickly ran into major real-world obstacles, problems that were far harder to solve than anyone expected. The biggest problem with electric snowmobiles: batteries. Unlike cars, snowmobiles face brutal winter conditions, and cold weather is a nightmare for battery performance. Lithium-ion batteries lose efficiency in freezing temperatures, meaning riders couldn't always trust the advertised range. A gas-powered sled? Fill up in minutes and ride all day. An electric sled? Long charge times. If you could even find a charging station in the middle of the backcountry. Weight was another battle. Batteries are heavy, and in a sport where agility and maneuverability are key, that extra weight made handling more difficult. Engineers tried optimizing battery placement, improving efficiency, and reducing weight, but at the end of the day, physics doesn't negotiate. Then came the price tag. Snowmobiles are already expensive, but electric models? Even worse. Early Taiga Motors sleds cost thousands more than gas-powered counterparts, making them a tough sell for the average rider. Government incentives helped, but not enough to make electric sleds the obvious choice. And then there was the infrastructure problem. Snowmobiling thrives in remote mountains, frozen lakes, and deep backcountry trails, places where charging stations don't exist. Even with decent range, an electric sled meant sticking close to home or risking a long, cold tow back. But the biggest hurdle? Emotion. Snowmobiling isn't just about getting from point A to point B. It's about the thrill, the power, and the sound. The roar of a two-stroke engine, the adrenaline of hearing it scream through the trees, that's part of the experience. No matter how fast or powerful, an electric snowmobile just didn't feel the same. These problems didn't kill the electric snowmobile industry overnight, but they dragged it down, slowing progress to a crawl. Even the most promising companies began to struggle under the weight of reality. And no company embodied both the potential and the pitfalls of electric snowmobiles more than Taiga Motors. If any company seemed destined to bring electric snowmobiles into the mainstream, it was Taiga Motors. Founded in 2015 in Canada, Taiga set out to create high-performance electric sleds that could compete head-to-head with gas-powered machines. Their early prototypes built hype fast. The TS2, later renamed the Nomad and Echo, promised blazing acceleration, a smooth and silent ride, and zero emissions. No oil changes, no carbon footprint, just clean electric power. Investors bought in. In 2021, Taiga went public, and excitement was at an all-time high. But then, the trouble started. Production delays crippled the company. Customers expecting deliveries in 2022 were left waiting and waiting. Supply chain problems, rising costs, and manufacturing struggles slowed everything down. Some customers canceled pre-orders entirely. And then there was the market itself. Snowmobiling is already niche, and electric models with their high price tags made it even harder to attract mainstream buyers. Government incentives helped, but not enough to drive mass adoption. By 2024, Taiga was in serious trouble. Despite delivering some sleds, they struggled to scale production or gain traction among traditional riders. What once looked like the future of winter sports was now a cautionary tale. But Taiga's struggles weren't just about one company's missteps. Their downfall exposed the bigger problem. Even with great technology and bold vision, the market just wasn't ready. So, how did the rest of the industry react? For the most part, traditional snowmobile manufacturers played it safe. Companies like Polaris and Ski-Doo experimented with hybrid and electric concepts, but none went all in like Taiga. And as it turned out, their caution was justified. The demand just wasn't there. While electric cars are thriving in cities, snowmobiles operate in remote areas where charging stations are non-existent. For many riders, range and convenience outweighed sustainability. They weren't willing to risk getting stranded in the backcountry for the sake of going green. Even rental fleets and commercial operations, which seemed like prime candidates, hesitated. Ski resorts and national parks expressed interest, but without mass adoption, the costs stayed too high. Nobody wanted to invest in an entirely new infrastructure for a niche product. Meanwhile, gas-powered sleds kept evolving. Manufacturers improved fuel efficiency, reduced emissions, and developed cleaner-burning engines. These advancements made traditional sleds more eco-friendly, without forcing riders to abandon gas altogether. In the end, electric snowmobiles never reached the tipping point they needed. The technology was there, but the demand and infrastructure just weren't. One of the biggest selling points of electric snowmobiles? Saving the environment. Traditional snowmobiles, especially older two-stroke models, pump out high levels of pollution and noise. In eco-sensitive areas, electric sleds seem like the perfect solution. Zero emissions, whisper-quiet operation, and no oil leaks. The idea of tearing through the backcountry without disturbing wildlife or polluting pristine snow was undeniably appealing. Some national parks and conservation groups even pushed to ban gas-powered snowmobiles entirely. Yellowstone National Park, for example, has spent years battling snowmobile noise and air pollution, leading to stricter regulations and limits on access. On paper, electric models could have been the perfect answer, but in reality, limited range, long charging times, and sky-high costs made them impractical replacements. Governments did offer incentives, but not nearly as generous as those for electric cars. And while environmental groups backed the idea, it still came down to one thing: money. The cost of electric sleds remained significantly higher, and without subsidies, riders weren't willing to make the switch. At the end of the day, electric snowmobiles were better for the planet. But for most riders, the practical challenges outweighed the benefits. The industry just wasn't ready to go fully electric, at least not yet. Electric snowmobiles had everything going for them: cutting-edge technology, environmental benefits, and even government backing. But in the end, none of it was enough. Battery limitations, high costs, lack of infrastructure, and a niche market all worked against them. Taiga Motors led the charge, but their struggles exposed the bigger issue. The industry simply wasn't ready. Traditional snowmobile manufacturers saw the risks and chose to wait it out, and that gamble paid off. Demand never took off. Even in areas where electric snowmobiles made sense, like national parks, rental fleets, and ecotourism, adoption was painfully slow. The high upfront cost, lack of widespread charging stations, and range limitations made them impractical for the average rider. Enthusiasts loved the idea, but love alone doesn't sell sleds. So, does this mean electric snowmobiles are dead forever? Not necessarily. As battery tech improves, costs drop, and charging infrastructure expands, there's still a chance for a second wave of innovation. Maybe one day, electric sleds will finally have their moment. But for now, gas-powered sleds remain king. The future that once seemed inevitable, it just never happened. At least, not yet.